The long-necked sauropod dinosaurs were the largest creatures to ever walk on Earth. They were the descendants of bipedal animals from the Triassic period, who belonged to the larger clade Sauropodomorpha. Nicknamed the Prosauropods, they were already some of the largest animals the world had yet seen, despite the fact that, during the Triassic period, most dinosaurs were still second fiddle to other reptiles. One of the best examples of how the transition from prosauropods like Plateosaurus to the titans of the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods took place is Lessemsaurus. Lessemsaurus was one of the closest relatives of the true sauropods. In many ways, what has been found of it resembles sauropods more than other prosauropods, but Lessemsaurus still lacked some traits that were critical to the sauropods obtaining their incredibly massive size. Lessemsaurus was first discovered in the Los Colorados Formation in Argentina, which was formed during the Late Triassic Period. It is named after Don Lessem, who is the author of numerous books, primarily about dinosaurs. Based on the neck vertebrae that have been found, Lessemsaurus's neck was shorter than most sauropods. While this would have limited the height it could browse from, it was still higher than most other creatures. Lessemsaurus also had high neural spines, which may have formed some sort of ridge along its back. Although prosauropods were already some of the largest animals during the Triassic period, Lessemsaurus was one of the largest. Estimates suggest it could have reached 7 tons. This is twice as heavy as almost all other Triassic prosauropods, and is also heavier than the average weight of a bull African elephant. Still, even Lessemsaurus was dwarfed by most of the later sauropods. To reach their massive sizes, even the earliest sauropods grew rapidly, and didn't slow down even during unfavorable seasons. In contrast, Lessemsaurus's growth, while fast, did slow down annually. Even though it was one of the largest animals the world had yet seen, this shows how Lessemsaurus was not yet as utterly devoted towards obtaining gigantic size as the true sauropods were. Another example of how Lessemsaurus was like the sauropods but still different are its limbs. While often portrayed as quadrupedal, most prosauropods were actually obligate bipeds, although some bipedal species, such as Moosaurus, hatched as quadrupeds. On the other hand, Lessemsaurus was quadrupedal as an adult, which allowed it to support its greater weight. However, it still offers insight into how the arms of the prosauropods evolved into the front legs of the sauropods. Sauropod limbs were built like columns, straight and directly below their bodies. Such legs are very effective at supporting massive weight, and similar legs are also present in today's largest animals. Lessemsaurus's forelimbs were instead flexed, like many smaller animals. These bent forelimbs may have allowed Lessemsaurus to run faster, or they may have simply been the result of them still not being optimized for weight bearing, since they had only recently evolved into legs. Lessemsaurus's vertebrae also reveal much about the evolution of the sauropod respiratory system. The airflow in the respiratory system of the first archosaurs was unidirectional, which is more efficient than the respiratory system of mammals. However, like birds, the sauropods had an expansive system of air sacs, which invaded the bones themselves. These air sacs reduced the weight of their bones, and helped the sauropods to cool off, a crucial trait given their size. Lessemsaurus's neck vertebrae already had the cavities made by these air sacs, proving that the close relatives of the sauropods had already evolved this more advanced respiratory system. It certainly helps to explain how Lessemsaurus itself was able to grow larger than almost any preceding species. No skulls belonging to Lessemsaurus or any close relatives have been found. This is important because the skulls of early sauropods and prosauropods were actually quite different from each other. Sauropod skulls were shorter, had rounder snouts, and lacked the overbite present in their ancestors. Assuming Lessemsaurus' skull didn't evolve in a completely different direction, it was probably more like either the sauropods or prosauropods than transitional between them. This is because, with the exception of the overbite, the skulls of prosauropod hatchlings were actually very similar to the future sauropods. This suggests the sauropod skull was the result of perhaps a single mutation preventing the skull from acquiring its adult characteristics rather than several mutations. Just as the sauropods later propelled some predatory theropod dinosaurs to also evolve massive size, Lessemsaurus had the same effect on its predators. The Los Colorados Formation also contains fossils of the carnivorous pseudotsuchian Phaseolasuchus, a distant relative of crocodilians. Phaseolasuchus is the largest terrestrial predator known from the entire Triassic period. It is estimated to have been between 8 to 10 meters long, and to have weighed at least 2 tons. Even the gigantic Lessemsaurus would not have been safe from it. However, a mere subadult Lessemsaurus was still immune to attacks from other contemporary predators, such as Riohasuchus and Zupasaurus, one of the largest Triassic theropods. Lessemsaurus is the namesake of the clade Lessemsauridae, which is usually considered to be the sister group to Sauropoda. Like Lessemsaurus, the other lessemsaurids outclassed all other Sauropodomorphs in size, besides the sauropods themselves. The only other animal from the Triassic period who even approached their size was the dicynodont Lisiowicea, who grew between 5 to 6 tons. The only Triassic dinosaur that was likely larger than Lessemsaurus itself was the Lessemsaurid Argentina, who weighed between 7 to 10 tons. The largest Lessemsaurid was Leda mahadi, who was able to reach a staggering 12 tons. However, it lived during the early Jurassic period. This doesn't mean that Leda mahadi or another Jurassic lessemsaurid was the ancestor of the sauropods. Lessemsaurids seem to have been more closely related to each other than to the sauropods. Additionally, while no sauropod bones have been found dating to the Triassic period, fossil tracks laid by sauropodomorphs with column-like limbs have been found in late Triassic Greenland. Even if these Triassic footprints were not left by actual sauropods, their makers were at least more closely related to them than even the lessemsaurids were. Although Lessemsaurus and its relatives shared many features with the sauropods, they still lacked some of the traits that allowed the true sauropods to grow so large. Over time, the lessemsaurids and the other prosauropods were steadily outcompeted by the sauropods until they had been completely replaced by the late Jurassic. Despite this, Lessemsaurus was quite the exceptional dinosaur. It was not only one of the largest animals of its own time, but one of the largest animals the Earth had yet seen, while foreshadowing the even larger giants to come. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something interesting. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you would like to see more. Finally, be sure to have a great day.